Welcome to Aaron Plays. This is turn 2 of a scenario called Right Pickings, which is an ASL scenario converted to Band of Brothers using the ASL boards with the Band of Brothers counters. I originally uploaded turn 1 of this scenario back in 2017. I thought I'd lost the other files, but I subsequently have found them, and I've converted them and I'm ready to upload them now, one at a time. So I thought I would give an introduction. So if you like this, please subscribe, put your likes and any comments that you can see, and I will then upload turn 3, then turn 4, then turn 5. Thank you for watching. Turn 2. So currently the Americans have still got 2 command points. The Germans have 0 command points. So the Americans still can move first because the Germans can't spend a command point to get in the way. However, the German vehicles can now actually start to move and do things as the crew have got back in the vehicles. Also, the move limit is now turn 2, so the Germans could activate units and spend up to 4 movement points between those units over the whole course of this turn. So we are now going to do the operations phase, starting with the Americans. So they are going to activate the tank over here. Remembering their operation range is from 2 to 7, so they can activate 7 points worth of units, and a tank is worth 3. So that tank will fire on the other Mark IV sitting in the road there before he can get a chance to turn his face and such forth. However, his crew values or armour values are back up to standard, so it's 6/3, but it is a side shot. No proficiency check is required because it's within range. So it's a straight 10 firepower versus a side armour of 3. That's a 7. So a 7 or less to knock out the tank. And here's the shot. He rolls a 5. That tank is now also knocked out. The American vehicle is now marked again as used. The next activation would be an American unit, and it will fire this weapon team into this building here to try and suppress that German unit. The fire value on the American weapon team is 7. Take away 2 for the stone building. I'll just double check that is a stone. Yeah, it is 2 for a stone building. ASL it's 3. So yeah, it's 2 for stone buildings, so that takes the firepower from 7 down to a 5. So a 5 required for a suppression. Here's the roll. They roll a 7, so that is no effect. That weapon team are obviously not loaded up the weapons belt. So that's 4 American units activated so far. So the last unit it's going to activate will be this unit here. It is armed with a bazooka and is going to try and knock out this tank before it gets a chance to change its facing and such forth. So activating that American unit. His bazooka rating is 3. So morale check as described last time, so it's a 10. Take away the 3, that makes it a 7. And its 2 hexes range makes it a 5. A 5 is required to be able to activate and target that tank. And the Americans didn't bring ammo again, so it's a 10. That is no activation, and the unit's done. So the Americans have activated 3, 4, 5, and decide to pass it back to the Germans. Okay, the German activation. They're going to activate the Panzer IV in this hex. To change facing, cost a movement point per hex side. So that'll be 1 and 2, so that's 2 of their 4 movement points used. Okay, so I'm going to again mark that with the dice there. And then, because it's used actually a total of less than a third of its movement point potential, which is 12, I'm going to mark the unit with an op fire. So he's ready to fire at anything that comes towards him. He's now facing the Americans. That's their 3 points. They pass it back to the American player. Okay. Not sure what I missed there. So just as a slight recap, because I think I wasn't recording when I thought I was. American unit climbed over here, entered this hex. This unit reaction fired, causing a suppression. This unit then tried to pass this morale check to be able to at least fire back or continue moving, and failed. Which point the Americans passed the back to the Germans. The Germans have still got two movement points they can spend for this turn, as noted by they only used 2, and their activation level is 1 to 3, so they must activate something. So they are going to activate this tank here. Okay, he's got 1. Okay, the Germans have just activated this tank, which has changed its facing from here for 1 movement point, 2 movement points. Move the counters away there. So that's their 4 for the turn. Move that out of the way now. Okay. I'm also going to now fire this German tank. So he's going to take a shot from this hex here to the American unit. Slightly a bit there. Let's move this forward a bit. See it? This American unit here. Okay. So he's changed his facing, so he's classed as, but he hasn't actually moved to a new hex. So he's got to do a proficiency check to actually make that shot. So the German proficiency rating on the tank, if I bring the counter up, is an 8. That's that number at the bottom there. The modifiers to the proficiency check, you count the range. 1, 2, 3, so there's no modifier there. However, if firing after turning within hex is a -1, so it now drops that proficiency to a 7. So he needs a 7 to actually fire. And rolls a 9. So doesn't get a shot off, and is then marked as used, but not moved. He didn't actually move to new hex. That's 3 points for the Germans, so the activation points. So for passing it back to the Americans, who actually only have 1 unit left to activate, which is this one over here. Over here. Okay. So we're not going to move it across the open ground because this German unit can react. The Germans still have no command point this turn, so we will move here for 2, 4, 5, and then the unit's marked as used. And it's back to the Germans, who've got no units with actual movement points that can do anything, but they can still activate units. So activating this unit, he will fire at this American over here. So he's using his fire value of 5. There's no orchards or anything in the way, so the woods makes it a 4. 4 required. Roll of a 9 equals no result. Okay, so the Germans are activated. However, they've got no movement points left, and they've got no units actually they can target from where the lines of sight. Actually, that's totally true. This unit could fire onto this, but best case scenario it could do would be a suppression on it, because it only has a fire value of 5, which is 3, and as he's not in open ground and not adjacent to any unit, he'll recover that suppression anyway. So I'm going to end the op phase of turn 2 and move on to the rout phase. Rout phase. So the Americans have to test first. They have one unit here that is suppressed and adjacent to a German unit, so it must take a morale check. His morale is 6, as denoted by the yellow number. So rolling the dice. He rolls a 4, which means he passes the morale check. So he's okay. He keeps the suppression, but that will be removed in a moment. He doesn't have to rout. The only other unit is this German unit here, which is adjacent to this American unit here. So he must test, and his morale level is 5. Rolls an 8. Hasn't got a command point as yet to utilise, so the rolling needle was 5. 5 plus his casualty rating is 4, is 9. He would have, actually, he's not even flipped, so it would be 7. So there's no chance of him taking any losses in this rout. So routing away from the Americans will take him to here for 2, over the hedge. He can go further, he can go up to his full movement allowance. But I think he's happy enough there. See, he's suppressed. That is the rout phase. Melee, there are no melee combats. So the last part of this turn is the clear up.